Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Joining us today is my good friend Chris Vermeulen, Chief Market Strategist at thetechnicaltraders.com. Chris, it's such a pleasure having you come back to Wall Street Silver.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ivan. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the economy, of course, and a huge question out there recently is have we made it through the worst so far of 2024? There's so much that's been going on with war, geopolitical issues. In the past couple of years, there's still this ongoing war with Russia. Where do you see inflation going for 2024?
Yeah, inflation. I think inflation's going to stick around. For a while. I think it's going to be something that takes a long time to slowly work itself down. I think we need to go more so into a recession. We need to see the economy weaken. We need to
Right.
see demand fall. We need to see businesses start to get a little more desperate, not gouge, and start to like give discounts and try and get back to some somewhat fair pricing because it really feels like things are way out of whack still. I mean, you go for dinner, it's like 150, $200 in blink
Yeah.
of an eye.
Yeah.
Nothing is affordable anymore. A movie was like $75 for my son and I to go with some popcorn and pop. It's like,
Jeez.
it's wild.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to take a while. And I think we need to see the economy slowly come full circle and get into a slow times, difficult times, businesses, unemployment start to go up as businesses struggle and start to lay people off, and then
Hmm.
that's when companies will start, I think, starting to cut pricing and give discounts, and it'll take a long time to work itself from China factories or factories in general to through the supply chain of everybody lowering their costs to try and get sales and work itself to the retail user. So I still think we're a year or two out from things kind of slowly, steadily moving down to something better, but
Right.
we'll see.
And looking at the past week, a couple of news that broke out was Japan finally announced that they're in a recession, but their stock market is at an all-time high. And you look at the UK, they just announced that they're in a recession. Um, in the United States and in Canada, a lot of people talk about how the numbers are so underreported or they're just calculated in a way that they weren't in the 70s and 80s, so it's not showing the real inflation numbers.
Yeah,
Uh, and there's 2 million people a month going to food banks in Canada. It's like almost 8 or 9% of their whole population in Canada is going to
it's
food
huge.
banks. Yeah. So are we in a recession or not? What's happening here in Canada and the US while they're announcing recessions and it's no different here?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to like political stuff and economic data, it's
Right.
just like everybody lies and cheats and tries to sweep
Mhm.
everything under the rugs. Everything's been adjusted, so it looks like we don't have much inflation, um, and the numbers aren't that bad. But the reality is, things are slowing, things are stalling. I know a lot of people have businesses who are actually firing and letting people go.
Yeah.
And they're super excited because they could never get labor. And finally, the labor they get, they absolutely can't stand. They're terrible. People just have no work ethics. They just don't show up. They don't care about
Yes.
anything,
It's
zero
brutal.
quality. So they can finally let these people go because business is kind of slowing. So it's like this win-lose situation. They get rid of people they don't want. That doesn't really help their business so much, but they're also seeing business slow down. I think we're inching into a recession. I feel like things are definitely slowing down. I think there's a lot of people that still have a lot of money, and I think they're still burning and spending and going out and doing stuff. But it has slowly kind of. I think the kind of wealthy people are starting to rein things back a bit because I think a lot of them can see things are slowing and things are expensive, and the rest of the world, I do think is showing probably more forward of what the reality is versus Canada and the US has kind of fudged numbers.
I was speaking with Jeffrey Tucker from the Brownstone Institute this week, and he said that we've been in a recession since 2020. Nobody really wants to say it, but we've actually been in a recession since COVID hit. Well, what's your thoughts on that?
Potentially. I mean, I don't know. It depends on how you gauge it. I mean, the
Right,
COVID forced everybody to stay home, no vacations. A bunch of people got free money. So people just started buying all kinds of stuff,
right.
which kind of surged businesses. But it's kind of like the stock market. When it moves on news, I mean, it's not a true movement. Like it usually comes back and gives those away. So like COVID just forced everybody to stay home and go out and buy toys and do all the staycation, which became like the biggest tagline for everything. Go buy a nice couch for your staycation, right? Like they could justify buying anything. So I feel like it was almost like the way for the world to like squeeze everybody to go and spend their savings on
Right.
stuff. And I think all that is slowly getting eaten up. And now that bubble is kind of over. In Canada, a report just came out yesterday. Vancouver home sales are down 25%. The average
That's
home sale
crazy.
was like 1.5 million for a tiny little spot. So
Yeah,
most people are down 200, 300K in a year and a half. That is a ton of money. Toronto's down 20%. My town is down 18%. And I really honestly think it's just kind of started. I still think there's a long ways to go, but it's a slow bleed. Just like inflation, it takes kind of a few years for everything to work itself through, people to run out of money, become
hmm,
desperate, start giving homes away, giving products away at a really low price. So it just takes time. And so I feel like we are in a recession. It's just a lot of people are still throwing money around, but I don't
absolutely.
think, a lot of businesses are really booming right now.
So I just wanted to let everyone know about our new sponsor, Strategic Wealth Preservation. They are an international precious metals dealer and they are a secured storage provider that have headquarters in the Cayman Islands. The company owns and operates a large Class 3 UL rated vault in the Grand Caymans, and they offer other strategic locations as part of its global storage network. They specialize in the acquisition, secure storage, and liquidation of precious metals for individuals, companies, trusts, and wealth management professionals on behalf of their clients. So if you guys want to check them out, the link is in the description below. And you just said that in Vancouver, a house price is down 25%. So let's say if they lose 100, 200,000, $300,000 this year in home value, what happens next year when they lose another 100 or 200,000?
Yeah,
That's
well,
horrible
it sucks. You're paying this massive mortgage on hundreds of thousands of dollars more.
that you're
I,
losing.
well, I remember in the States, because they kind of got hit, I think, a lot harder during the 2008, the big financial crisis. People have like $1 million mortgage, and their house is now worth 450 or five
Oh,
hundred
that's
thousand
that's
dollars.
horrible.
And people are like, well, I'd rather just default and start over. I don't want to pay for $500,000 extra. So it will eventually affect some people who have the mindset. They're like, well, instead of just holding through it and paying it off and realizing investment is a long-term investment, they paid at a premium at a peak, unfortunately. But if you hold on to it long enough, I mean, you will do fine with real estate. The problem is people are emotional creatures. They
Right.
get into the nitty gritty. They're like, I'm offside. I'm losing money. I can't afford this. And if other people who they're around have a negative mindset, it's easy for them to want to bail out, get
Right.
out, give their house away, get out of this offside position or give up on the mortgage. So it really comes down to who you are and who you hang around with for the mindset of how you're going to deal with, a house going down in value.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. The thing that sucks about it is if you buy a house for 1 million, like say in Vancouver, and you lost 200,000, but you're still paying interest on that million, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
horrible. Yeah. And
Yeah. It's, yeah.
what about gold, Chris? Where do you see gold and silver and precious metals heading for 2024? Because people were expecting, inflation going down, and there's going to be rate cuts, and silver and gold is going to go higher. What do you see now?
Yeah, I mean, my story hasn't really changed in a year and a half, couple of years. Really, I still
Nice.
think gold is holding its value phenomenally well.
Hmm.
Silver and miners are down like 40, 50%. They're just refusing to kick into high gear. I think 2024 is probably going to be a very difficult year overall for pretty much all assets, including precious metals. I think gold will hold the best value. Maybe we will see a little bit of a rally this year. Maybe they'll become a defensive play for a little bit. But if we do kick into a recession, an official recession based on the fake numbers, we're going to start to see the stock market go down, and that will pull precious metals down temporarily. So I don't think this year is going to be a very good year, really, for many investments. I think it's going to be preserve your capital, watch and learn all the different assets out there and figure out what you want to purchase as this big cycle works its way through. When do you want to get into precious metals? When do you want to get into real estate or stocks or bonds? I mean, bonds are slowly building a base. I think there'll be a good opportunity in the bond market
Hmm.
in due time. But this year is going to be one of those big transitional years. I think it's going to be a lot like 2022. It's going to be volatile, choppy. We might end up seeing a big pullback within this year across the board. And
Absolutely.
we're just going to have to wait to see if we kick in to another big rally mode. Like if this market just wants to keep going, I mean, we're long this market. We are riding it up for everything it's worth here. But eventually, it's going to have a big correction. And the
Hmm.
question is that correction going to be just a pullback and a minor correction, or is it going to be like the start of something big? And we need to see how the selling kicks in. Is there distribution selling, high volume selling across the board in all stocks, which is going to be telling us the institutions are now starting to unload into the general public. They want to get out. And we saw a bout of that last week. We saw a big bout of selling across the board in every space.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the one shot across the bow, but we need multiple of those to give us more of a signal that institutions are more so consistently unloading, not just a one-off day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I seen an interview with Jerome Powell about a week or two ago, and the reporter was asking him like, what do you see in the commercial markets from now a little bit long term? And he said he wasn't worried too much about the commercial markets for real estate, but he said some banks will go under. So there's a Federal Reserve chairman telling you that there's more bank collapses coming.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? Like when like he knows that there's going to be more consolidation. So what's the risks there?
Yeah, I mean the U.S. banking system is pretty darn fragile. I mean
Right.
people in general are creatures of over leveraging themselves. The banks are over leveraged. They're eventually going to be backwards on mortgages where they got mortgage owed from people who own commercial property, and the commercial properties were 20-30% less than the mortgage, so they're going to be offside. It's a very brittle system, the banking system, and
Right.
I think we're gonna probably go into another type of big financial reset. There'll be another big bout of bailouts because nobody wants to lose. Nobody wants a real full cleanse. Everybody's trying to save everybody else,
Which
which
is
is
true.
okay. I mean, that's just the way the markets are. Nobody really wants to lose. So we just need to go through one of those and see how it shakes out, what they do, and follow the markets. That's the nice thing about what I do, which is technical analysis. Is I really don't care what the interest rates, the Fed is doing, who's going bankrupt. The reality is, I follow if money is going into stocks or out of stocks. Are they going into bonds or out of bonds? Or
Right.
money going into precious metals or not? And wherever that money is flowing, that's the trend we want to be on. And we just keep reinvesting our capital into whatever asset is strong in holding its value or going up.
And I believe that would be the best way to gauge anything. If you want to cancel out all the noise and, the news, and you just look at where the money's going, there you go. Like that's the smartest way. And now, Chris, where can people connect with you?
Sure. Yeah. They can go to thetechnicaltraders.com. And there I'll share with subscribers. I share all the trades that I do. I trade ETFs. I cover precious metals, miners, all the different sectors. And more or less, I kind of do a morning video, recap what's happening in the markets, what to look forward to, what to look out for, how it's going to affect our trades, and very educational. So you kind of
Hmm.
learn to read the charts, get a feel for the markets, and we just ride these trends, and we don't ever try to pick a top or bottom. We simply wait for a big cycle to start. We hop on board, we ride it. Usually the trades last several months, and then we hop off, find a fresh new asset that is starting. And that's about it. We just follow price, 100% price action.
That's super exciting. And I just wanted to thank you so much, Chris, for coming down to Wall Street Silver. And then hopefully in the future, as the market develops, we're always watching Jerome Powell close and what's happening with silver and gold. So would love to have you back on.
Sounds great. Always a pleasure. Take care,
Awesome.
Ivan.
Talk to you soon.